It's movement. Let's not confuse the two. There's movement, and then there's dancing. Dancing, good dancing, one that I call true, is one that comes from a self-expression. But when you start doing, 30 second pieces of dance, that's all you can say? Is that a real language? I don't think so. And what's going on now, I think the problem with the YouTube for me is people are watching YouTube and all they're doing is creating a system of copycats. People copying the other person. No one is creating anymore. They're seeing something on YouTube and then they go home and they rewind it over and over again and they copy it. They don't bring themselves to the dance. Good dancers understand their environment, incorporate their environment within their dance, they internalize it in some real way, and then it manifests itself in movement. You look at the B-boys, my understanding is there was a lot of things going on in those days in New York. You look at the lockers, you look at the whole late 60s, early 70s, you'll realize that all this dancing was coming out of the civil rights movement and what this country was doing to our people. It was born out of a climate of exclusion, So what did we have? This dance became something important for us. When James Brown said, hey, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, it wasn't just a record. He was giving us a message. And as a young black man growing up in Chicago, when I heard say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, that was something, the first time in my life when I felt that I was important and that I could contribute something. And this was at a time when our people was being sprayed with water hoses and having German shepherds sick on us. You understand what I'm saying? So out of that frustration, out of that anguish, gave birth to the soul and funk movement that we know. Gave birth to a soul train. And it was that self-pride and racial pride that opened the door for the kind of dancing that we did. The Pat Davises, the Demita Joe Freemans, the Jimmy Scooby-Doo Fosters, the Lockers. The whole thing all made sense because and Don Cornelius giving us Soul Train and that being a backdrop for us. Don't you see? That's why the dance was so rich. That's why it was so rich when Kool Herc put the two records together and created the break beats. And the kids went out there because they needed to also express themselves. They needed to have something to show that they were important too. That they had a voice. Well, it was no wonder then that that wonderful dance known as boyoyong or b-boying or breaking or whatever you want to call it was born out of it. And that's why it was so incredible. You had great dancers born from here. You had the Dynamic Rockers, the New York City Breakers, the Rocksteady Crew. You had Crazy Legs, Ken Swift, Pex. You had, and all of the thousands of other ones that I failed to mention. You see, look at that. That's rich. That's not a bunch of kids sitting around on YouTube just copying what they saw the day before. There's no manifestation of nothing real for them. And you have this opportunity because we also live in a very frightening time. We live in a time right now where the government is telling us how we should feel based on the color. Oh, today is orange, you should feel the orange day today. Today is the yellow coat day, the blue day, or whatever day they tell us that we should feel like. Well, that's frustrating. And if you think about it, and if you allow that to happen, if you allow that to internalize, it's going to manifest itself in some real sense of dance and movement. That's dancing. All that other stuff is the Macarena. And just put your right foot in, put your right foot out, and do the hokey pokey and shake it all about. That's all that is.
Because I noticed I see one dance and there's like list of matches. This is ridiculous.
Just people just singing and then they do their little versions of it. They're not masters of it. They take 1 or 2 classes and suddenly they're teaching it. Now, how did that work? I've been dancing for
all your life.
I've been all my life professionally, but professionally better than 35 years. And I was practicing in my home not too long ago, and I thought to myself, that's how it goes. It took me that long before I realized this is how it works. How were they able to do that after 2 lessons? – Somebody's lying to somebody. It's impossible. You can't go and become a martial artist in 2 days. You get your butt whooped trying to do that. But see, they do that with dance. They'll go and say these things because maybe they have a good sense of rhythm or whatever. But you know, that's not what makes you a dancer. It's being able to express yourself through movement. What's going on with you, your frustrations, your emotions. This is what makes Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. is bringing the depression and all of what he understands in his life to the table. That's what made Gregory Hines Gregory Hines. That's what makes a Savion Glover Savion Glover. Look at Savion Glover dance. That boy's just not tap dancing. Tap dancing is a vehicle, but he's a genius because he's bringing his own sense of values and his feelings, expressions to the movement, and that's what makes you amazing. All the greats know that. People who dance on YouTube don't, because they don't give themselves a chance to win. They're too busy copying.
Would you say stripping is a form of expression of dance,
Stripping?
genuine or no?
You mean stripping as in a
like cabaret?
Stripping? It's a happening. Yeah, I mean, you think about that. I think you'll know the answer, and I think that the people out there should say to themselves, is stripping taking your clothes off in a club an expression of yourself, a true expression of yourself? I would probably say no. But if you go to Africa and you see Africans dancing and they expressing themselves about their season and what was going on in their life, you see, that's their internet. Standing around the fire and dancing and expressing themselves in a true sense of the world and being connected to something bigger and greater than themselves. This is what I teach in my program, Feng Shui. There's 3 levels: the spiritual, the physical, and the emotional. Those 3 must be met. Those are the 3 laws of Feng Shui. In the House of Shui, I teach that. So you have to have the spiritual. That's when you connect to something larger than yourself. You have to have the physical. You have to take care of yourself. If you're drinking, don't drink. If you're smoking, don't smoke. If you're getting high, don't get high. Now, I certainly did those things, and I'm not proud of them. And it didn't make me better. It made me worse. So I don't say these things to people because they sound good or I read them in a book. I lived them. I know that they don't work, and I know the things that do work. You can be creative. You don't need to be high to be creative. And if you love your work, and you want to give yourself a chance to win, that means you don't really want to smoke, I don't think. Not if you love it more than the cigarette. So make a choice. Live your moment quick, like the YouTube, or you're the long distance performer. Put the cigarette down, internalize, walk through your city, walk through New York. It's a great fertile soil for creativity. I walked through the streets. I went on a feeling expedition, and I just met people that I didn't know before, and I listened to their conversations. You know, I listened to a man who talked about putting his kid through college. He looked like a gang member, but he was talking about sending his kid to college, and that said something to me. You know, that the real person is behind that exterior. The real person wants what everybody wants. They want the best for their kids. So dance for me is that. It's a vehicle to better oneself. It's a vehicle for me to express myself and my own emotions. You know, a kid asked me, he says, there's 24 moves to locking, he said. So I counted, there were 60 people in the room. I said, no, there's 84. He said, what do you mean there's 84? I said, 60 plus 24 that you just said, and then the 60 people that are in here. And he goes, what? I said, well, I haven't seen your move yet. You understand what's going on there? They're so busy copying, they don't realize they have a contribution to make. And if you think about it, and if everyone thought that way, we could have 1,000 in 24, 1 million in 24, 10 million in 24 moves to locking, if they would put themselves in it. Anyway.
Wow, you just instilled us a lot on the expression of dancing. Thank you, Shabba Doo, for taking the time. I know you got to teach a class. Tell us the website again.
Go to www.myspace.com/ONQ Media or myspace.com/4 Feng Shui. FUNKSHWAY. Feng Shui stands for Funk, Shabba Doo's way. My concept, whacking or shuiing, locking or Feng Shui in other forms is called the House of Shui. I'll see you on MySpace.